Welcome back. I'm Samantha Stone with the Marketing Advisory Network, and I'm so excited to have Katie Martell with me today. She is one of those professionals, has boundless contagious energy. She's the CMO of Cintell, and she's here to talk about personas.
Thanks so much for having me.
Excellent. You know, personas is one of those terms that gets really confused. People really don't know what it means. It means a lot of things to a lot of people. How do you define it?
Well, personally, I think personas actually need a rebrand. I think it's time to really look at what personas are and what they can be in 2015 and beyond. If you look back, because you can't know where you're going unless you look at where you've been, personas actually, the word comes from the Latin word for mask. So used in a theater, right? Putting on a character and role-playing that character. They're also used in psychology to represent the appearances that we want to give outwardly in the world, which we can all relate to. And in around the 80s and 90s, Alan Cooper, who really kind of put a stake in the ground on using and defining personas in the software world, used them to identify the potential users for a piece of software, so that the brilliant programmers behind the scenes could understand who it was that they were building for. Around that time, it started to cross the chasm into sales and marketing, which is where the word has really taken off today. In 2015, if you do a Google search, there are 500,000 blog posts, not exaggerating, Google it, on buyer personas and why you need them and how great they are, which is excellent. The spirit of buyer centricity should be celebrated. Unfortunately, I think there's a bit of confusion around what goes into a good persona and what it's used for.
Yes.
The way I define a persona is just a strategy tool that is used to help a company focus its efforts on a specific group of people. Simple, right? But what that means is...
Simple but difficult, right?
Simple but hard. What it really means is that you're building a humanized view of an individual and understanding them beyond a job title, beyond a demographic profile, something that really incorporates who they are as individuals. And in the business-to-business world, what you want to find out is who this person is as a professional. What it's not is a very static, very shallow representation of a buyer. I think that's the biggest misconception.
You know, I'm so glad that you said that, because I see so many people think a profile is a persona, and I love the idea of going back in history and looking where the term and the concept originated. So thank you for taking us on that. Now that we understand a little bit more about what a persona is, how do we use them to be better content marketers?
I love content marketing. I think I'm very fortunate to live in the age and the rise of content marketing, because to me, content marketing is the voice of a brand, and it really helps a company show its thought leadership, show its position in the market, its educational value to buyers in a really human way. And so personas, to me, are, if you think about content marketing as a conversation, the content is the dialogue, the persona is who you're talking to. And so just like you're having a conversation with a real person, you can become, an expert on who they are and what they need and what they're looking for from you. So personas should be a tool that content marketers use to guide the content they're writing. Everything from how they write it to what format it takes.
Very
is
true.
It video or infographic? Is it long form? Is it highly technical, or is it more, step by step? And all that is driven by who the intended audience is. So if you have that information at your disposal, you're an unstoppable content marketer. You're fantastic. I also like to think of personas as almost the muse for content marketing.
Oh, I'd like that.
Right? That's a new metaphor I want to spread around the world. Think about it as the inspiration when you're sitting down to write a blog post. Who is it intended for? And what do they care about? And what do they need? And who are they? And that, to me, is that'll spark imagination for any content marketer. And so the piece that they write is so relevant to that buyer that it's just going to be fantastic. It's going to make you look good. And to back that up, research shows that if you do align your content to buyer personas, you're 3 times more effective. Thank you, Aberdeen Group, for that stat. It just puts proof behind the idea that writing with an intended purpose in mind just increases results across the board.
As a person who writes a lot, the notion of a muse is actually really powerful. I love that idea because it really puts a package together for what we're trying to do.
Right.
So personas are important. They're inspiration for what we create. They're sort of the foundation for how we go about doing it. But yet a lot of marketers still don't use personas effectively today. What's holding us back?
Well, you've created personas, I've created personas, and now we work with companies that do personas all the time. What we found is that personas are difficult. Done right, they are very time consuming, and time is that very precious commodity for marketing. And it's one of those things that, because it's a strategy play, it's something that can actually fix or realign a strategic, direction of a company.
Yeah.
Marketers know they have to do it, but it may take precedent or doesn't take precedence over lead generation or hitting their quota for that quarter. And so it's something that maybe is pushed to the back burner. Done right, these things are highly valuable tools, as you said, but it's also very easy to do them wrong because it's easy to get in a room, write down what you already know about your buyers, or you can ask maybe the internal stakeholders what they know about the buyers, and feel like you've come to an understanding of what's going on. It's the head in the sand approach. It's only half useful. Certainly good to get oriented internally around who the buyer is, but it's not valid and it's not accurate. You need to talk to actual end users. It takes time, it takes effort, but even just casually go out and talk to a few of them, and you'll start to see some patterns that emerge from what's happening in the day-to-day life of your buyers. And you'll start to hear some of these facts that actually may challenge some of your assumptions. And that's another reason marketers don't like to do them, is they might actually prove that you're wrong, or maybe the CEO is wrong about what the buyer needs. And that creates waves. But if a marketer is kind of brave enough to be the champion for who the buyer is and what they want, the marketer then becomes the most valuable asset in the room. So it's worth doing. It's hard, but it's worth doing.
I think there's no doubt that personas are really difficult work, but they are incredibly powerful. Katie, thank you for bringing up the folks who use personas are 3 times more effective in their efforts from a content standpoint. So I encourage everyone to take the time to do the hard work. It's worth it, and it will actually save you time in the long run, has been my experience. You actually, once they're done, create a lot more effective content much faster because you have your muse, right? We know who we're writing for and we're creating for. So thank you all for joining us. Excellent conversation, Katie, as always, and we encourage you to go out and not take the easy route. The hard route is a lot of effort, but it'll be worthwhile.